"Have you met her yet?" Lord Theros asked his son. He pretends to read a book in his father's office. "No," he answered flatly. "Please, Zaid, show a bit more interest," Theros sighed. "She's a good girl, and her father—" Zaid stood up swiftly. "I don't want an arranged marriage, though," he shouted at his father. He smiled at his teenage son. "My boy, you have a strong head on your shoulders. You've shown you can play in politics. You have a great mind. However," he points at Zaid's chest, "that heart of yours needs to see the bigger picture." The Lord stood up now. "Our family has ruled this world for longer than our records can tell. My time will come to an end, and yours will start. However, we can't have you marrying some nobody." He walks to his son and puts a hand on his shoulder. "It's not that I wanted to set you up for some gain. I wanted to set you up with a family that I can trust. Gisef is a nice girl. She's supposed to see you later today. Please be there." Zaid shrugged his father's hand off and left. Once he was out of the door, he shouted, "Fine! I will." Gisef waited for her fiancé at a cafe near his estate. She wore a simple blue dress because, from her understanding, Zaid is simple and doesn't care for the standard exaggerative fashion of the high class. When their eyes met, she knew she made the right call. They spoke for hours, talking of their past and their goal. She told him how she always wanted to be a mother of four whilst being a master-class violinist, how he wishes to continue his path of ruling the planet as his family before him, but try a new way. "What do you mean black is your favorite color?" she asked condescendingly. "It's such a depressing color. I am willing to bet you also like stormy nights." "And what if I do? It's rather mysterious, wouldn't you say?" he replied smugly. She couldn't hold back her laughter. "As mysterious as stone." "Well, fine. What's your favorite, then?" he asked with a hint of irritation. She leaned back in mock superiority. "Well, if you must know, it's a tie between red and a dark blue. Both are regal and sophisticated." They held each other's gaze until they both erupted into laughter. She held her hand out on the table, and after a moment he took them. "Your eyes are dark blue," Zaid blurted out. "You finally noticed," she said with a snort. "Zaid Heremos, I believe you and I will have a pleasant future." He smiled sheepishly but said nothing, letting her words hang in the air. The days turned to weeks, weeks into months, months into years. Before Zaid knew it, he took his father's place, and his time to rule had begun. He blinked, and the next thing he knew, his son was born. His heir. Everything his father said to him before rushed back into his mind, knowing now that it would be his turn to say the same things. Tears began to well in his eyes as he held the baby close to him. "I will never let anything happen to you," he whispered the promise to his sleeping infant son's ear. Zaid reviewed star charts of systems close by. He met with someone who called themselves a rogue trader who told him of an empire growing fast. Zaid waves it off, as he has heard so many different empires trying to get him to join. "We have always been independent for as long as we could begin keeping records. That will not change while I live," he would say to each one. After signing off a document, Zaid opened a drawer and pulled a bottle of rum. He pulled himself a glass and one for the empty chair across from him. "About that heir," Zaid said aloud. "You know, Dad, I think about what you said to me all those years ago." He ran his hand over his mouth and was shocked by the presence of a beard. "Well, shit, I have turned into you. Wish you were here to see your two granddaughters. Thalos has been growing so fast, he even..." Zaid stopped after hearing a sound. Something strange, but familiar. Crying? He looked around his office, wondering if the drink was something stronger. He opened his office door and peered out, but saw no one. Yet the crying persisted. What is that? A baby? He groaned as he opened a window. Looking at the sky, he stopped, paralyzed by an impossible sight. In the night sky, he saw a projection on the clouds like a projector onto a blank canvas. He saw his wife, son, and eldest daughter, their wrists bound by chains and held up by it. All of them were still wearing sleepwear.
We are the 8th Legion of the Legiones Astartes, the Night Lords.
A voice echoed across the entire planet.
We have come to claim this world for the Emperor of mankind, beloved by all.
The Emperor, Zaid sputtered out, but his blood ran cold after hearing a quiet shh from somewhere behind him.
I suggest watching it.
Same voice from the projection, shaking. He continued to watch the horror before him. He watched as one of his captors appeared behind his daughter. His armor was dark blue with lightning painted on it. A leather cape and skulls. Skulls, Zaid whispered shakily. He saw the leather cape was made with an asymmetrical design. It took Zaid a few seconds before he realized it was human skin. He felt nauseous, the bile in his stomach beginning to rise. The Night Lord put an arm on her shoulder and she began to scream for him, calling for Zaid to help her. His wife was hysterical, trying to get to her daughter.
Oh, Daddy, Daddy.
The Night Lord repeated mockingly and began to flay his daughter for the world to see. Zaid's eyes widened at a sight no father should ever see. Everything began to blur and sounded far away. He could hear his wife's wailing and curses, his son whimpering, the baby crying. When he came to, he saw that now it was only the baby crying, as his wife and children hung limply by their wrists, their muscles fully exposed and lidless eyes stared at him. Zaid vomited. The projection grayed, and then he saw them again, his family alive as they were before they were tortured to death. Relief watched over him. A trick, and nothing more than it.
It is no trick,
The voice interrupted.
You should be quiet. You'll wake the baby.
Zaid turned to see the Night Lord standing within the shadows of the projection's light, his position exposed by the red of his lens. Zaid noticed he was cradling something. Sofina? He barely managed before reaching out and fell to the floor.
You have 24 hours to come to a decision as to what you will do,
He said to the sniveling slump of a man Zaid became.
This recording will play for the full time. If you step 1 foot out of this room, you and the population of this planet will feel more pain than your family did.
The Night Lord stood before him now, towering over him like a god to an ant.
I will see you soon.
The Night Lord began to leave through the door, but stopped.
Oh. And here's this.
He tossed a bundle of cloth underhanded to Zaid and landed wetly before him. The Night Lord slowly closed the door, watching Zaid unwrap the soaked cloth slowly. Then he heard him scream once the door clicked.